Live from WTVO Rockford and your home team. Eyewitness News at 5 starts now.
A girl is fighting for her life after getting shot in the head. She was asleep in her bed during a drive-by shooting in the Rolling Green neighborhood.
A serious crash backs up traffic for hours on a busy state line interstate. The accident destroys a truck.
And we now know what the coolest thing made in Illinois is this year. The winner is from right here in Rockford. Good evening, I'm Mimi Murphy.
And I'm Eric Wilson. A young girl fights for her life after getting shot overnight.
Rockford police were called to Wisconsin Road just north of Harrison Avenue around 2 a.m. to reports of a shooting victim. Jess Lipson is live from Wisconsin Road. He has more from the scene. Jess?
Eric, Mimi, when officers arrived, they found a home here on Wisconsin Road that had been struck multiple times. A 12-year-old girl was found inside the home in her bed with a gunshot wound to the head. She was taken to the hospital in critical condition. At last check, she was in stable condition. I was able to speak with a neighbor who grew up in the area and is now raising a family here. She's upset about the growing dangers in the area over the years.
I grew up here. We could come outside and play. I would be afraid to let my kids play outside without me. So that is unfortunate for Rockford as a whole, in my opinion. Because growing up, you could go across town on your bike. Wouldn't let that happen anymore.
No one has been arrested for the incident. If you know anything about the shooting, call Rockford Police or Rockford Area Crime Stoppers. Live reporting from Wisconsin Road in Rockford, I'm Jess Lipson. Back to you guys.
All right, thanks, Jess. A serious crash shuts down a busy Rockford interstate. First responders were called to I-39 near the Perryville Road bridge around 2 this afternoon. A number of vehicles were involved in the crash. Several ambulances responded to the scene, but no word on how many people were injured. All eastbound traffic from Alpine to Harrison Avenue is closed. All westbound traffic on bypass 20 at Harrison Avenue is also shut down. Police say motorists should expect delays and try to avoid the area.
First Lady Jill Biden will attend a citywide vigil in Nashville this evening to remember the victims of Monday's deadly school shooting. 9-year-olds Evelyn Deekhouse, Hallie Scruggs, and William Kinney, and staffers Mike Hill, Catherine Kuntz, and Cynthia Peak were shot and killed when the 28-year-old shooter stormed the school armed with an assault-style rifle. Police killed the shooter. They're still trying to determine a motive. The shooter was being treated for an emotional disorder, but still legally bought 7 guns. Democratic lawmakers urge their Republican colleagues to act on stricter gun laws.
There is no excuse to allow our streets to be flooded with weapons of war that are not being used to hunt deer. They're being used to hunt human beings and to slaughter children.
President Biden also calls on GOP lawmakers to support increased gun restrictions. Closer to home, Illinois gun owners rally to protect their rights. This just happens to be their annual lobbying day. It's the first rally since the state passed an assault weapons ban. Demonstrators marched to the Capitol steps. Organizers say they're trying to separate law-abiding citizens from criminals. Governor J.B. Pritzker avoided picking a political fight.
If people want to gather and make their point, this is obviously the city to do it in, with the legislators here in session. So we welcome everybody, all views.
We want to put the face on law-abiding citizens before the legislature and let them know they are not the problem. The problem are the criminals and the people who engage in criminal activities.
The first hearing for the federal lawsuits happening in 2 weeks. Gun owners are calling for a preliminary injunction on that law. Nashville's the most recent high-profile deadly school shooting in the United States.
Talking to kids about school shootings can be difficult, but also necessary. Our Nicole Delgado talked to a parent about the challenges she's facing. Nicole?
The mother of 2 tells me she doesn't know what to say to her kids, but a local therapist has some advice for bringing up the traumatic events while keeping them still feeling safe.
So I'm not gonna lie, when I knew my son was gonna be eventually put into school, that was one of my biggest fears, was just realizing that anybody could, if they wanted to, they could make their entrance into any school.
Julie Theismann has 2 young children. She recently had a tough conversation with her 4-year-old about school shootings.
I drive off after I drop them off, and I feel a little overwhelmed, scared, figuring out how I'm going to get to this school when I do hear about this happening.
Julie tells me she makes sure to hug and kiss him every day because she doesn't know if it will be the last.
It's hard to explain that to a 4-year-old. Like, you have to be quiet. There are not nice people out there, and they're here to hurt you, and I'm not ready for him to know that yet.
Therapist Meryl Cornejo says honesty is the best policy when talking with kids about difficult topics because education is key.
They haven't heard about it, but bringing it up and, stating to them, hey, this happened, I just want you to be prepared in case it hits close to home.
Meryl encourages parents to listen and to validate their kids' feelings and know it's okay to get help.
A parent can tell their children, your teacher or your principal or the professionals at your school is just like me. They're there to keep you safe and secure, okay? Make sure to listen to them when they're telling you something and there's something going on.
Both Meryl and Julie say it's sad that they have to do this, but believe it's for their protection.
I think it needs to be encouraged that our children are taught and aware that this stuff is serious and can happen anywhere.
Therapist says it's okay to seek professional help if you don't know how to start up these tough conversations with your kids. Mimi?
All right, thanks, Nicole. Here in Illinois, Governor Pritzker wants to expand access to preschool for all children across the state. A group of lawmakers wants to take it a step further. A proposal in the Capitol would give early childcare providers a big raise. They want to set a wage floor for those providers at $25 per hour. The bill sponsors believe it would help retain teachers in the field.
In order to maintain the size of the early education workforce, we have to recruit 5,000 new providers every single year. But we can't recruit the workforce we need when early educators are making poverty wages.
Several years ago, the state set a new minimum salary for teachers at $40,000 per year. Illinois manufacturers make lots of things from barbecue sauce to electric cars.
But the coolest thing produced in Illinois this year comes from Rockford. Ingersoll Machine Tools' Rosenberg Space Habitat won the Illinois Manufacturers Association's Maker's Madness contest. The company worked with the Rosenberg Institute to make the habitat. Ingersoll's CEO says the habitat's designed for up to 2 astronauts to live in it on the moon.
But Ingersoll is a company, 131 years, 6 generations of manufacturing professionals that grew families up and continue to go on to other capabilities and grow their families and have good lives together right in Rockford, Illinois. That's what manufacturing does. So making the coolest thing today just means we can keep making these coolest things in Illinois tomorrow and for future generations, the next 6 generations.
The other 3 finalists included barbecue sauce, a radar system meant to assist drivers, and a drug incinerator used to help healthcare organizations and law enforcement destroy drugs safely.
Starbucks was part of a heated showdown in Washington, D.C. today.
Senators held a hearing focused on what critics call the company's anti-union efforts. Hannah Brandt has the highlights from Washington.
Lawmakers are serving up tea about Starbucks.
Starbucks has broken the law and has prevented workers from joining unions to collectively bargain for decent wages and benefits.
At a hearing on Wednesday, Senator Bernie Sanders slammed the coffee company, accusing it of aggressive and illegal union busting. And federal administrative law judges have found that Starbucks violated labor laws in several cases.
These are allegations, and Starbucks has not broken the law.
Former Starbucks CEO Howard Schultz admitted the company prefers to negotiate directly with employees rather than unions. But he defended how Starbucks treats its workers by offering high wages, good benefits, and stock opportunities.
It's unprecedented. And that's why Starbucks doesn't need a union.
Republicans poured praise on Starbucks, calling it an American success story.
The hearing today is convened to attack a private company for its success, when its success has benefited both customers and its employees alike.
Senator Rand Paul labeled the hearing a witch hunt. And Senator Markwayne Mullins said lawmakers shouldn't get in the way of private businesses making profits.
The government's role is to create an environment for entrepreneurs, for go-getters, for world changers, to be successful in life.
But Senator Sanders insisted the hearing was about a larger issue.
Whether we have a system of justice that applies to all, or whether billionaires and large corporations can break the law with impunity.
In Washington, I'm Hannah Bryant.
Now, your first warned weather forecast from Chief Meteorologist Candace King.
Well, things have cleared out quite nicely following some light snow some of us picked up here earlier today. Lots of sunshine for this afternoon, but colder. We take a live look with our SkyTrack camera out in Rochelle, looking off to the northwest. The wind continues from the northwest here this evening, which has kept our temperatures in the upper 30s, right around 40 degrees. Our weather watcher Terry in Genoa this evening checking in at 39, relative humidity at 42%. Just a trace of snow out there in northern DeKalb County. Once that cold front passed, our dew point temperatures really dropped, which allowed us to dry out so quickly here this afternoon. Currently sitting at 38 in Freeport, 40 now in Rockford, 39 in Rochelle, 38 in DeKalb, and you're at 41 degrees in Dixon. While things are going to be pretty quiet through the night tonight, we are still keeping an eye on Friday. So want to kind of dive into that a little more here as we get closer and closer to Friday afternoon and Friday evening. Still looking at that potential for strong to severe thunderstorms across all of northern Illinois and southern Wisconsin. Right now, a slightly higher risk, which is indicated by that brown color to the west of Rockford down to the southwest. So what I think is going to happen here as we go through the day on Friday, we'll see some thunderstorms develop over eastern, southeastern Iowa, and then those will move in as we get closer to sunset or a little before sunset, and then lasting through Friday evening across northern Illinois and southern Wisconsin. So let's kind of plan this out over the next 48 hours, because now's kind of the time to prepare. It's not a done deal. We've got some limiting factors that could limit the overall severe threat the further east we get, but you always want to make sure that you are prepared, especially as we get a little bit further here into the week. Things are quiet for tonight. Cloud cover will increase through the morning tomorrow. Temperatures tonight will drop down initially in the 20s, but then we'll actually see those numbers climb as we go through the afternoon or into the morning, just because we've got cloud cover and then that increase in a southeasterly wind. Warm front lifts through Thursday late afternoon. We could have some light precipitation develop along the leading edge of that warm front and some mixed precipitation up to the north, but not really expecting much as a limiting factor or really to slow you down for tomorrow afternoon. Temperatures will then continue to climb through Thursday evening going into Thursday night. We'll actually make it into the low 50s by early Friday. Friday morning, I think we get some isolated showers and thunderstorms. This will be overnight Thursday into Friday. Could be some small hail associated with that. Notice our wind shifts to the southwest once we get into Friday afternoon. We still have a fair amount of cloud cover, but I'm holding on to an isolated thunderstorm chance during the afternoon. Then we turn our attention out to the west after about 3, 4, 5 o'clock. Those are the thunderstorms that'll develop in Iowa and could potentially move in our direction, kind of forming into a linear structure of thunderstorms, which would enhance the wind threat. This would be roughly between about 6 and 9, 10 o'clock going into Friday evening. Notice by about 8 o'clock, those thunderstorms are lining up along that I-39 corridor and then passing to the east. So our timeline we're watching here between about 5 and 10 o'clock for Friday evening. Wind, damaging wind and heavy rainfall, the primary threat, but some isolated tornadoes could be possible just because we have enough wind shear going in the atmosphere. Our limiting factor, any clouds that linger a little longer, and then that chance would limit that instability. Temperatures in the 60s will drop as we've got some snow on the backside for Saturday, 60s again by next week.
Now sports with sports director Scott Leber.
Days of waiting for the start of the Major League Baseball season have turned into hours. The Cubs and White Sox will start the 2023 season tomorrow. And the Cubs got settled into Wrigley Field today for their first workout there. The Cubs finished 14 games below 500 last season, and they're confident things will be better this season with the additions of Jamison Taillon, Dansby Swanson, and Cody Bellinger. Ian Happ likes the look of the team.
Yeah, everybody's talked about the fact this team's going to play defense. I think you saw it in one of those last spring training games where it was just all over the field. But besides that, I think that this team could surprise people offensively. I think that there's guys that have accomplished a lot, and I think that the thing that I'm most excited for is the fan base to get to know some of these individuals, to get to know Mancini and Bellinger and some of these guys.
Cubs will host the Brewers tomorrow at 1:20. The White Sox open up tomorrow evening in Houston against the defending World Series champion Astros. Dylan Cease will get the opening day start on the Hill. The Sox underachieved last year, finishing with a .500 record. Perhaps new manager Pedro Grifol can bring out the best in these guys.
It was a high-energy, detailed focus camp.
There was very little standing around, very little wasted time, very little no eyewash whatsoever. I mean, it was one of the best camps I've been around in my 2 decades of doing this.
I set the structure here. They set the tone, and their tone was set in the off season with my conversations to them. They all wanted this. They all wanted structure. They all have a chip on their shoulder. They all got an edge to go out there and do something special.
Prediction time. Let's start with the Sox. Last year they won 81 games, lost 81. This year I have them going 88 and 74, an improvement of 7 games. Having a real manager will help a lot. Their lineup could be one of the best in baseball if they can stay healthy. Their starting rotation is better than average. The back end of the bullpen will be their problem, with Liam Hendricks dealing with Hodgkin's lymphoma and Garrett Crochet still working his way back from Tommy John surgery. Cubs won 74 and 88 last year. I have them going 78 and 84 this year, an improvement of 4 games. Their lineup is better, but it's still nothing special. Their starting rotation is still full of question marks after Tyone and Marcus Stroman, and the Cubs do not have a closer. A couple Ice Hogs notes. Brett Seney gets a new 1-year contract, and Mike Hardman has been returned to the Hogs by the Blackhawks. We'll be right back.
First Warning Interactive Radar brought to us by Rockford Auto Glass and more. We've got clear skies out there now. Watch for some thunderstorms, strong thunderstorms Friday afternoon and evening.
Thanks, Candace.
Stay safe.